Is Peter Lewis here, Professor Peter Lewis of mathematic fame from Cardiff?
Professor Peter Lewis was a mathematician from England and an avid mountain biker. He regularly rode with his son, who was 35 years younger. He thought he was fit. Then one day while doing some gardening, he felt pain in his chest. He ended up in the emergency room. A treadmill test confirmed he had severe heart disease. Walking up a gentle hill left him in agony. Doctors sent him home with medications and statistics. Maybe they could reduce his risk, they said. But Peter didn't want a lower risk, as he later explained.
I don't want a 5% risk, because if you're one of the 5%, it's 100% for you. Right? I want 0.
He wanted his life back, and searching online, he found the work of Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. He read about patients who had gone from repeated cardiac events to virtually none, so he changed his diet. He cut his fat intake to around 7 or 8% of calories and eliminated added oils. Then he started measuring what happened. He rode the same mountain bike route over and over. At first, he had to stop 7 times because of chest pain, then 6 times, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Eventually, he no longer had to stop at all. Within 6 months, his angina was gone. 9 months later, he was off all medications. He eventually traveled from England to Los Angeles to thank Dr. Esselstyn in person.
When I saw Dr. Esselstyn in this taxi, I said, I'm here because of you.
Now, Peter's story is not a randomized controlled trial. It's one person's experience. But it raises an important question. If reducing risk is the goal, one conversation follows. If reversing established disease is the goal, that's a different conversation entirely. Modern cardiology often asks, what diet will lower my risk? And the reversal pioneers, they added a more ambitious question. What diet gives a patient the best chance of avoiding another cardiac event altogether? And that's the conversation I want to have today. You've probably heard the story. People in Crete consumed a traditional Mediterranean diet rich in olive oil and had remarkably low rates of heart disease. Finland dramatically reduced heart disease after lowering smoking rates, reducing saturated fat intake, improving medical care, increasing fruit and vegetable consumption, and replacing some butter with rapeseed oil. Case closed, right? Olive oil saves hearts. Well, except those studies, they never asked the question most people think that they answered. They weren't asking how to reverse heart disease in someone who already has it. They were asking something simpler. Can a population lower its risk by replacing saturated animal fat with healthier foods while improving the rest of its lifestyle? And the answer is yes, clearly, repeatedly, yes. But lowering risk in a population and reversing disease in a patient are two very different things. We keep mixing them up. Take the North Karelia project, often held up as proof that canola oil rescued Finland. It wasn't an oil study. It was a region-wide public health intervention. People smoked less, they ate fewer animal products, they reduced salt intake, they ate more fruits and vegetables, blood pressure fell, medical care was improved, heart disease rates plummeted. So replacing butter with rapeseed oil was part of that effort. One thread in a much larger weave. The traditional Cretan diet was the same kind of story. Not just olive oil, but beans, vegetables, whole grains, fruit, daily movement, strong social connections, and very little that came out of a package. So here's what I keep coming back to. When someone already has heart disease, arteries narrowing, angina worsening, which dietary pattern actually turns it around? That's where 5 doctors come in. Walter Kempner, Nathan Pritikin, Dean Ornish, Caldwell Esselstyn, John McDougall. Different eras, different personalities, different methods, yet they arrived at remarkably similar conclusions. Build the plate around starches, vegetables, fruit, and legumes. Minimize animal foods. Keep fat very low. Reduce or eliminate added oils. And patients who had run out of options, they got better. Angina diminished, blood flow improved. Some patients showed evidence of regression in coronary narrowing. People scheduled for bypass surgery no longer needed it. People who thought they were out of options got their lives back. Dr. Esselstyn often illustrated this distinction with a simple comparison. Mediterranean-style diets have shown meaningful reductions in cardiovascular risk. But in Esselstyn's follow-up of patients with advanced coronary disease who adhered to his low-fat, oil-free program, fewer than 1% experienced a recurrent cardiac event over nearly 4 years. Among patients who stopped following the program and returned to their previous eating habits, recurrent events were dramatically more common. Different diets, different goals, different outcomes. That's a different standard of evidence than showing one oil is less harmful than another. Now, let me be clear about what I am not saying. I'm not saying that olive oil is worse than butter. It isn't. I'm not saying that nuts are worse than potato chips. They're not. I'm not saying that the Mediterranean diet is unhealthy. For many people, it's a substantial improvement over the way they currently eat. But better than the standard American diet is a very low bar, and that's a diet that is one of the most disease-promoting patterns ever studied. So when someone tells me that olive oil is heart healthy, I have one question. Compared to what? Compared to butter? Absolutely. Compared to processed meat? No contest. Compared to mayonnaise? Please. But compared to dietary approaches that have demonstrated regression of coronary disease and dramatic reductions in recurrent events, that's a different conversation. And even Pritikin, the study most often cited in support of olive oil, it didn't compare a Mediterranean diet with the low-fat, whole-food, plant-based diets used by Ornish, Esselstyn, McDougall, Pritikin, and Kempner. It compared one moderate-fat dietary pattern against another. And here I have to be honest because it's the fair thing to do. The reversal studies aren't airtight either. Ornish's trial was small. Esselstyn's work was a case series without a control group and involved highly motivated patients willing to follow a demanding program. There's no large randomized trial comparing an oil-free, whole-food, plant-based diet directly against the Mediterranean diet in people with advanced coronary disease. So if I'm going to hold the olive oil studies to a high standard, I have to hold these studies to one as well. So why do I still find them persuasive? Because the effects showed up not just in risk factors, but in symptoms, in clinical outcomes, and in some cases, angiographic evidence of disease regression. And because similar findings emerged independently across different decades, in different settings, with different physicians asking the same question. 5 clinicians, separate careers, similar conclusions. That's not definitive proof, but it's a signal worth taking very seriously. It also helps to be clear about what the famous population studies can and cannot tell us. The 7-country study is often cited as proof that olive oil is the secret to longevity, but it was observational. Researchers observed that people following traditional Mediterranean dietary patterns had lower rates of heart disease. That's fascinating, but it can't tell us which element of that lifestyle produced the benefit. Was it the olive oil, the beans, the vegetables, the smaller portions, the walking, the strong social connections, the absence of ultra-processed foods? We don't know. That's the honest answer. Most of the studies used to promote olive oil, nuts, and avocados are substitution studies. They compare olive oil to butter, nuts to processed snacks, avocados to foods that are clearly worse. The healthier option wins, which should surprise no one. But replacing a harmful food with a less harmful food is not the same as identifying the optimal diet for someone with established heart disease. That's the distinction that keeps getting lost. Risk reduction versus disease reversal. A lot of this research is also funded by industries that profit from positive findings. Olive oil groups fund olive oil studies. Nut boards fund nut studies. Avocado boards fund avocado studies. That doesn't automatically invalidate the results, but it should encourage healthy skepticism. And to be fair, the plant-based world isn't free of incentives either. These physicians wrote books. They built programs. They developed reputations around their work. There may not be a broccoli lobby, but there are still careers and royalties involved. The difference to me is the question driving the work, not how do we market more of this food, but how do we help this patient get better? So where does that leave you? If you're eating a standard Western diet, Replacing butter with olive oil is likely a step in the right direction. Replacing processed meat with beans is an even bigger step. Eating more fruits and vegetables is almost always a good idea. But if you already have heart disease or you want the dietary approach with the strongest track record for halting progression and potentially reversing disease, the evidence points towards something more demanding, toward the low-fat, whole-food, plant-based diets that Kempner, Pritikin, Ornish, Esselstyn, and McDougall spent their careers studying. Whether you choose that path is entirely up to you. Now, all I'm asking is that we compare like with like. Let's stop measuring reversal diets against the standard American diet. Let's stop treating prevention studies as if they answered the questions they were never designed to answer. The Mediterranean diet may lower risk, but the strongest evidence for reversing coronary disease still comes from physicians who minimized or eliminated added oils. There's one more question we rarely ask in these debates, not which diet is easiest, not which diet lets me eat what everyone else is eating, not even which diet lowers my risk the most. The question is, how serious is the disease we're trying to treat? If you don't have heart disease and you're simply trying to improve your health, the Mediterranean diet may be a meaningful step forward. But if you've already had a heart attack, needed a stent, undergone bypass surgery, or been told your arteries are narrowing, the question changes. When the stakes get higher, people often become willing to do things they once thought were impossible because the inconvenience of changing your diet has been weighed against the inconvenience of another heart attack. Ultimately, each person has to decide what level of risk they're willing to accept, but that decision should be based on an honest understanding of what each dietary approach actually has been shown to do. That's the conversation I think we should be having. I'm Jeff Nelson. Thanks for watching.